Welcome back to Waking Up with Mindful Serenity, and we're going to continue with answering questions from the jar within a 10-minute time frame, or attempt to answer those questions. As I keep reiterating, I am not an expert in anything, and so my answers are far from perfect. Almost everything I do is far from perfect, and I no longer seek perfection in my practice. I seek to practice, which means I simply embrace the experience of not doing well and being imperfect, making mistakes, flubbing up with my words, my appearance not being perfect. It's not about the perfection. It's about becoming who we are at a deeper level through a practice of allowing ourselves to advance from one stage to the other without any expectations of how we should be in each stage, if that makes sense to anyone. Well, again, I'm rambling, so I am going to pull out a question from the jar. I am going to set my timer. And begin to answer this wonderful question after a deep breath, I should say. What is the difference between Jnana Yoga? I'm never sure if I'm spelling that right because I'm probably not supposed to pronounce the J or the N. I'm assuming I am, but Jnana Yoga or Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So Jnana and Bhakti Yoga. So they are different forms of yoga or legs of yoga, not necessarily belonging to Patanjali's Raja Yoga, his 8 limbs, but they are stages of yoga or types of yoga. Jnana Yoga is the yoga of knowledge. Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of devotion. So, what is the knowledge we're speaking of? The knowledge we're speaking about in Jnana Yoga, though we may start with the conceptualization of information and knowledge that we're receiving in the form of facts and what people have taught and what they've written in the ancient scriptures, what teachers have proposed, what modern day teachers and teachers from, centuries ago have proposed to be the truth. So it's a seeking of the truth through knowledge, Jnana Yoga is. And it begins intellectually with trying to understand with the conceptual mind, the mind that likes to intellectualize data, interpret data, make sense of data. So this human, this body, mind, and personality that I consider myself to be, can understand. Okay. But Jnana Yoga actually takes you a step beyond that. It takes you to understanding um, and knowledge that goes beyond conceptual knowledge, beyond the words, beyond the concepts, beyond the dogma, beyond the conditioning, beyond the ideation, to a simply felt experience of knowing and being with the truth. And so Jnana Yoga progresses possibly to an intellectualization, to a non intellectualization. No need for intellectualization. It's simply a felt experience of knowing that which we've always known, knowing that which is inside us, this inner wisdom. Some people would refer to it as the Akashic records or that field of energy that existed long before this human in this form was manifested onto this earth. So it's like it's a deeper knowledge, a knowledge of the truth and wisdom of the universe, right? And so yogis have been pointing to that truth for years and years and years and years. And they've come to understand the truth. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them have come to understand the truth for years and years of meditation and inner reflection and understanding that it is not on the outside that takes us to truth. Nothing in this exterior world is anything of substance that can take us to that truth and to that knowing. It is an inward experience, and the knowledge is already in us. It's not out there, it's inside us. And being human during these incarnations with these limited minds and these limited bodies and these personalities that get in the way of almost everything we understand, we may never truly reach that knowing, right? So it's but at the same time it is our job here to strive for it. This is, as they say, the earth is a school for where souls come to evolve, right? So the school. So we're here to evolve at the deeper level to understand to get back to understanding and knowing who we are, basically. So that's Jnana Yoga. And it's, I consider myself more Jnana Yoga because I like to use my my mind that likes to intellectualize and likes to analyze and likes to read and likes to understand to concepts and so on and so forth. But I am also very, very aware that only takes me so far into the true knowing of what I seek to know, into the true knowledge that exists in me already. So we may call that wisdom. We all have that wisdom within us, and it's just a matter of peeling away all the layers of intellectualization, of personification, personalizing everything, seeing this life is here for us. And when we remove all those layers in the way we come to understand Jnana Yoga, we understand the truth of who we are. And self-realization, the direct route, as Maharshi said, is a quick way of getting there. Just realizing who we are by asking the question, who am I, without actually expecting an answer that comes in conceptual way or with concepts or terms or with words, but just the felt experiencing of knowing who we are. Right. So that's all Jnana Yoga. Many paths to that truth, many types of Jnana Yoga, many ways of understanding and coming to that truth, but it goes beyond intellectualization and conceptualization to a felt experience of knowing. Not Shana. What is Bhakti Yoga then, crazy lady? Well, Bhakti Yoga is that devotion to this source of energy, the devotion to that source of true wisdom, a devotion to the truth and what that truth is. Now, as Westerners, many of us have personified that truth into a living being that we call God with the beard, the long, whatever, the long beard, wrathful God, into our religious dogmas and concepts and ideations about what that truth is. We've tried to personify it, and using a lot of things like fear and guilt to keep us not attached to the devotion to what it is we are devoted to, but to the concepts that the religious dogma is trying to get us to focus on. So we get lost in the pointers rather than in the actual thing we're worshiping or should be worshiping or understanding or seeking to connect to. So I'm not against religion, don't get me wrong. Great faith, great peace, great connection can be received through the religions of this world. Many paths, right, to one destination. But sometimes the pointers in religion, especially the figures in religion, may get in the way of us actually feeling that bhakti devotion, that devotion to the source of all things that is inside us. So once again, it's not an exterior type of seeking when we look at people who are devoted to bhakti yoga. It is an internal game as well. What is within me? The light is in me. I'm a tiny little emanation of that light. But I want to trace the light back from what the light is shining on back to the source of the light. And I want to worship and devote my life to that. So Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga both are seeking the truth of that source, the truth of true wisdom, the truth, of the question, who am I? And what is this all about? But they're seeking it, one through the devotion and one through knowledge, seeking knowledge. And I think they're kind of intertwined, right? I'm very concerned about blind um, devotion, a devotion that is orchestrated by an organization, orchestrated by another human being, controlled by another human being, with fear and guilt, shame as the methods of control. Um, like I said, I'm not against religion, but I am against that when that happens, so that when that devotion becomes more about the pointers and doing the rituals and, you know, worshiping the person, the guru, or the whatever, and devoting all your money and all your energy and, so-called volunteering so that you can devote yourself to bhakti. to the Bhakti Yoga, to that source of everything, and you end up devoting yourself to the ego of the human being who is purporting to take you there. So we got to be very cautious with Bhakti Yoga. I think it is a wonderful means of practicing, reaching that level that we all want to reach to of self-realization, of seeing the source, the truth, connecting to God, connecting to who we really are, connecting to that formless nature, the omniscient, omnipresent, and omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent uh, being or essence that has created all things in which we are a part of. So we need to be careful. That's all. So even in our bhakti or our jnana yoga, we need to be careful they don't get lost in the pointers. Don't get lost in the words you're reading. Get lost, seek what they're pointing to. Don't get lost in the devotional rituals that you're pursuing. Seek what they're pointing to. Is the best way of looking at those two forms of yoga. But they're just ways of getting to the same space we all want to get to, whether we know it or not. And that's into realizing who we truly are from where we came, that connection with all. Well, that's what I have to say about that. I hope that makes a little bit of sense anyway. Thank you so much for joining me. Have an amazing day. Namaste.